Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. It's another fabulous edition of NNPA and Black Press USA's FIRE program. And the theme is Women Making Money Moves. So please, if you have any idea of you wanting to make more, do more, be more, tonight's program is just for you. Reach out to a friend or family member and let them know that they need to catch up and tune in. We'll take your questions. So all throughout this interview, from now until 8 o'clock, you can ask your questions and we'll answer them right here. Free information about money moves and getting you where you want to be professionally as well. My guest tonight is Beverly Wilkes. She is a wonderful technology marketing executive out of Montreal, Canada. And we also have Morgan Holland. She is a publisher, an author, and a coach, and they're both joining us tonight. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you both. We had a chance to speak before we actually went live. And before we begin the program, I want to, in full disclosure, let you know that Beverly Wilkes is my cousin from Canada. And I was so excited when I went to see her, was it maybe 2.5 years ago, in Montreal, and just how the wealth that she's built up and how she's saved and how she's really smart with her money. And then she said, you know what? I do this. I actually, outside of me being a tech marketing guru, I'm really helping women make money moves. So, and then Morgan, you were referred to me, and I am excited to hear about each one of you. Oh, hey, Renita, thanks for joining us. And we're going to get lots of that, ladies. So we're going to make sure we talk to everyone and answer their questions. So first of all, let's start off. Beverly, again, welcome. Morgan, welcome. Hey, Cal, thank you. Oh, we love our cousins from Canada. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I love
Beverly
that.
Wilkes, Morgan Holland. Beverly, will you tell us bacon and heels? Okay, it's not a food thing, it's a money thing, right?
Absolutely. We are bringing home the bacon and we're looking good while we're doing it,
Oh, I
right?
love
Doing it in our heels. So it's a blog site really focused on women, especially women of color, teaching people how to save, how to invest, and how to get right with their money.
And Morgan Holland, you are with Mullen Press. You're an author, you're a coach, you're a publisher. Tell us a little bit about your company, Mullen Press.
Okay, so at Mullen Press, we like to focus on what I like to call literary therapy. So we help people to write their story, align it with their brand so they can better monetize, whether that's speaking engagements, creating courses, or getting more coaching clients. So it's like you're healing in the process while also creating a product that can bring you more wealth.
You know, ladies, when we talk about wealth, I'm talking about everyone has a different level or meaning what wealth is, right? Wealth could be I have the freedom to purchase what I want, go what I want, wake up when I want, or wealth could simply be where I just want the basics. I just want to be able to take care of the basic needs. And I want to talk about that because you guys cover two areas. Financially, Beverly Wilkes, right? And then Morgan, you talk about achieving your goals and success through the written word. And those are two really important things, no matter what area of industry you're in, right? Writing and being able to communicate is vital.
Yes. And a lot of times your voice, it's hard to use your voice for some people. It's been muted early in life. So writing gives you a chance to get your thoughts onto paper and then that's the opportunity to read it out loud. So it's like a step in between to get that confidence.
I also kind of feel a correlation between getting your financial house in order and writing it down, merging it and making it reality, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yes, because you have to think about that healing, the emotional attachment to money, and is that little immature self inside controlling your money? So yeah, it's definitely we're going to get that good knowledge from Miss Beverly, but then we're going to squander it because we haven't focused on why we spend our money the way we spend it anyway.
Beverly, what inspired you to be as so disciplined as you are with money and saving and building up what you've built up for yourself? What in your life made you turn that direction? Because again, you're a technology marketing executive.
So it's mom and dad. They really talked about that at the table. Every night we had dinner together growing up. And at 6 o'clock, we had a radio in the kitchen. And at 6 o'clock, the Money Minute would come on. And my dad would be like, shh, I want to hear what's going on. And I'm like, What's the big deal? And for him, it was, well, oil's going up, which means it's going to cost more money for gas in the car. It's going to cost more money to get the vegetables in the store because it comes out of truck. And we had these amazing conversations at the table. And then if I wanted something, if I wanted that bike, he would say, okay, you come up with half. I'll pay half. You figure out a way to pay the other half, and then I'll get you that super deluxe bike that I wanted a BMX when I was younger. I'm aging myself. But I wanted to be like those kids on the street having a good time, but they were expensive. And he was like, if you really want it, you're going to need to show me why, and then you'll save. And it got me really thinking about how do I leverage money to get the things that I want. And then it just turned into, let's go to university. It's cheaper in Canada than in the US, but it's still quite expensive to go. So my dad's like, I'll pay for your braces, which is one thing I really wanted. And he's like, you figure out a way to help pay down for school. And I got jobs and did a bazillion things to get money to pay. And as I started growing, I realized I need to invest this money because I can't save my way to wealth. We need to invest. And it started talking to friends and merged into Bacon and Heels.
Now, Morgan, I have to ask you, everybody's relationship with money at the dinner table, because my dad didn't talk about it, but I always remembered my dad definitely telling me if something was $50 a bill, he would pay $100. So I did have that kind of feeding into me that way. What was your life growing up around family and friends as it pertained to learning and hearing about money?
Growing up, I didn't have it, even if they did. I don't have McDonald's money. Do you got McDonald's money? This costs money. Do you have money? So even though they might have purchased other items, it's like, hold on, I thought you said that you didn't have any money. So when I grew up, I had the scarcity mindset when it came to money. Like it's a finite amount. If I get it, then somebody else doesn't have it. And then I realized that scarcity carried over in other parts of my life too. So as I got a better relationship with money, it happened while I was getting a better relationship with myself and started thinking more about an abundance. I learned about compound interest and the rule of 72. And I was like, wait a minute. Then credit? Okay, I can get credit. So it just opened up the world. But I think if I didn't, that scarcity mindset was powerful. And if you hear I don't have money a lot, then it can, that's why some people make money and they don't invest it like you're suggesting, because they want to just
hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it. And I can understand that. There are people, World War II, right? There were people who were, whatever they had, they saved. You always hear about these people on the news that they passed away. They were, a teenager during the war. And when they went into their home, they had like boxes of like sugar saved because they were scared of losing it. And that didn't leave them after the war ended. Same thing with money. People try to hang on to it. They leave it in the bank. They put it in a box. They put it outside. They put it in safety deposit boxes. The money works best, to your point. Compound interest is my love language. That is what we need to be doing with that money. Put the money to work for you. It's not just leaving it somewhere. And then once it's growing, you're getting rid of that fear of, I'm going to lose this money. Then you could really start focusing in on other things. How do I gift some of this cash? How do I leverage it to help somebody else? How do I pay for my school, buy a first home, and start generational wealth, which is something else we should be chatting about later on today, but really putting that money to work for us.
And I think it's so important for us to have this conversation, not just this one time, but to continue to have the conversation. I started very young with my daughter when she was 5 or 6 years old. We literally went into a bank and opened up an account. Now I'm working with her, like you just said, Morgan, I'm working with her. She holds on to her money, and I explained to her, that's not going to allow you. I mean, that's not realistic that you have to spend a portion of it. But she holds on to it very tightly to the point that it's not realistic. I mean, I need her to live still so she can understand that. So I'm trying to get her to learn that. But if she can spend mine, she will. She will hold on to her to the last. Yeah, or she'll say, I don't need it. If I say, okay, go ahead and get it, she's like, I don't need it. I'm like, wait a minute, but you needed it a few minutes ago. So I think it's important to be able to have the dialogue and just as time speaking to your children or family members, because I'll tell you, things are constantly changing when it comes to the financial world. It is overwhelming sometimes at times. Beverly, when people come to you to help them get on track, what do you say to start them off? Because everyone's at a different level.
Exactly. So that's the first conversation. Where are you today? Take a level set of what you have today. Maybe it's doing a simple calculation like what's your net worth, which is all the things that you own minus all the things that you owe equals your net worth. And then I always like to ask them, where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is it buying a home, paying off a loan, doing something for mom and dad, taking a mega trip? Try to put things in different compartments and start to really think about, okay, how do I get there? And have a plan. So like your daughter, I'm dying for a new jacket. Do I really need it or can I wear what I have? If you're on this path, it's not about second guessing and not living. It's about starting and having a level set. And then you get to live by saying, okay, I saved this much this month. I actually have a little bit left over. I'm going to get that jacket. I'm going to get that extra dinner. I'm going to do something fun. But you have a plan. And that's super important.
And that's
a lot of people. What do you say, Morgan?
Language. I started changing my language with money. Instead of saying spending, I started saying circulating.
Oh, so that's nice.
I'm circulating money every time. Whether it's paying a bill or buying something, I'm circulating with the mindset. It's coming back to me. So because I had to release that scarcity, it's like, no, it's not over. It's not out to never return. It's like a boomerang. So I gave myself new agreements of how I saw money. And that's how I use language to help me have a better relationship.
One of my best languages I like using, instead of saying budget sounds so restrictive. It's a spending plan. We're spending the money, but you're spending it by putting a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm paying this bill. I'm paying this mortgage. I'm saving. You're spending it, but you're not feeling it's constricted like I'm eating, ramen noodles for the rest of my life.
Morgan and Beverly, oftentimes when I have shows and I bring on people talking about money and getting your financial house in order or saving for that special anything it may be, I get a lot of people that say, I just don't have anything to save. I'm sure people have said that to you. So Beverly, what's the response when they're saying, I just don't have anything to save? Well, how do they start? What should they do?
Start by looking and taking inventory of how you're spending, looking at your expenses. So it could be your rent or mortgage, your car payment, things that are small that you kind of pass by, like your streaming service. That could be an extra $20-$30 a month that you're spending. It's on your credit card and you just don't see it. Things like gas, which is really high right now that we could all see. Just really take an inventory of where you're spending your money. And it could just be on your phone from today. Let's say today is the 21st of April. Let's do it for a month. So the 21st of May, I want you to write down absolutely every single thing that you bought. And I mean everything. You bought some gum, hair care, tampons. I don't care what it is. You write it down and how much it cost you. And then from there, at the end of this 30-day expiration, then you could see, hey, I'm spending $100 a month on Netflix. Or maybe I could cut that. Maybe I could cut that down. Instead of having 5 services, I have 3. So to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been. So really taking a look at where you're spending money. Now, at the end of that, again, if you see there's nothing, then let's start looking at other options. Can you ask your boss for a raise? Some people like to have a side hustle to raise some extra capital. Maybe that's something else that they could start to do. Is it completely looking for a new job? So there's always options. I always say there's a way out. We just need to sit down and figure out what that looks like.
And I have to say, I would assume that just like with weight loss or smoking or alcohol, you have to be committed because it does take, even now when I look when I was hearing you say that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, with not Netflix and you're thinking, okay, you want to do things and you still want to do fun things, but you got to decide what's more important, having fun now or seeing something now, or 5 or 10 years later having a nest egg, right? Or
Yeah.
something you can use for that special thing that you want to splurge on. But it takes true discipline,
It
correct?
does. It's consistency. It's really people go to the gym every day. Simon Sinek is this great marketing mind that I follow, and he always says people go to the gym in the morning, they work out, they come home, they raise their shirt. I don't lose any weight. Well, it's only day one.
Right, that's me.
You just started, right? You need to be consistent. If you're consistent, I promise you, 30 days later, it's really eye-opening to see, this is exactly where I spent that cash. Maybe I don't need 5 streaming services, which is the average American has 5 different streaming. Maybe you need 3. And then if you eliminate those other 2, you could take that money and put it into a little emergency account or build up something that you really are looking to do.
And I believe that. Oh,
no, go ahead. I'll read that comment just a minute. Go ahead.
I believe everything is within me or within reach. So when I wanted to get my house right, I actually rented a room for 2 years.
There you go.
That's how serious I was. I got out the apartment. I sold stuff, gave stuff away, got a little storage unit, rented a room for 2 years so I can get the house. So I had to ask myself what was more important for me, right?
Yeah.
And that made a huge, that's significant amount of money that was saved. But then get creative. So let's say you don't have a skill or you don't think you don't have a skill. Be a connector. There was this guy outside of the emergency room, and his job, every time somebody came out, they said, "Do you need a lawyer?" And they say, "Yes." And he gave the law number, and that's my name, tell him that I sent you. So he got paid for it. He sat outside the emergency room, and that's what he did. When I got my eyes done, yeah, PRK. There was a guy. You want to get this work done? There's this corneal specialist in Tyson's, and he's recruiting. He wants people to come and he's just a connector. He got paid. So get creative. Think outside the box. If you believe that everything is within me or within reach, then you can have it. There is no, I don't have enough money. Because it is hard to budget with no money. How you budget when you're in a deficit? You got to get money.
Renita has a question. My daughter, 22 and 26, are not following the model I followed. They're college graduates, but they do not want children or 9 to 5. Well, that's the millennials. Okay. They understand the importance of saving, but want to travel, live abroad, and own property abroad because it's considerably cheaper. What advice would you ladies have for them? Thank you, Renita.
Renita, that's an amazing question. I love to travel as well. You could do it on a budget. You don't need, you could stay at the Ritz-Carlton in the Four Seasons, of course, and have a great time, but you could also do it differently. You could, like our partner here, you could rent a room in a house. You could use Airbnb. You could do different things to get the experience of living abroad and traveling, but not having to go broke to do it. I use a credit card that gives me Aeroplan miles I'm Canadian, so Air Canada that flies everywhere on the planet. And that's what we do. When we went on our honeymoon, it was paid for because of years of traveling for work. I accumulated those points, and that's how we paid for our flight.
Oh, and you had a spectacular wedding, and the honeymoon was incredible. And this is, again, when we were talking about it, I'm like, how did you do that? And she's like, this is what we did. I mean, it is just amazing. And one of the little tricks, since we're talking about tricks or things to think about, is I don't know if you have the Southwest credit card. So if you purchase on that, you get points. And let me tell you, I have flown down to Atlanta for $200 with no money. I just used because I paid a bill or did something on that card and got enough points to fly down there for a weekend or so. So obviously not during a busy time, but it didn't come out of my pocket. And if I had to cancel it, it went right back to my card as far as points. So I thought that was that's something that's great. When you have to do something, you can easily pay it off and you still get a benefit from it as well.
Exactly. And those credit card companies, they're not silly. They know there's loyalty with points. So they know, and I will never give up that card because every dollar I spend, I get 1 point. I'm 1 mile closer to where we're going. So that's really important for us to move that forward, to manage that money, and to leverage the tools that are already out there for free. I don't pay a fee for that annual fee for that card that we could leverage and help that lady and her children travel.
And so with the two girls, if they don't want a 9 to 5, which is fine because they could possibly work on their own, and they want a jet set, your suggestion for them is to, I mean, at some point there has to be some structure, because you can't just, unless you're making a lot of money between your non-9 to 5 job, what would you give her kind of a 1, 2, 3 in regards to focusing the girls? Because the millennials think about life a little bit differently. It's really here and now and not so much later, which I guess everyone at some time in their life probably thought that way.
So I'm the millennial. I'm her daughter. So I don't have any children. I don't have a traditional 9 to 5. I just have my own business, and I travel abroad. So what it is that I do is I do have a house here. So you can rent out your house here, or have somebody live in your house here, or a room here, a room in your house. So you don't have to rent out your whole house. You can rent out a room, and you're not there, and the people happy anyway. And then when I travel, you do it for a month. So if you could look on like a site like Airbnb, you have daily rates, weekly rates, monthly rates, significantly cheaper. And since you don't have a 9 to 5, you can travel where you want. And I always pick the cheapest date. You pull it up and it says, what's the cheapest date? And that's the day I fly out. And sometimes I just do one way. And then when I get then the cheapest date to come back. So it can be done. And I like to stick with time zones kind of close with the US, because that's another funky thing if you're in like Indonesia for a month, because the time zones are different. So maybe I work early in the morning. But if you're in like Costa Rica, which I'll be in Costa Rica for 40 days. So if you're there, they're only Central Time Zone. If you're in Lima, if you're in Peru, half the year they're Eastern, the other half they're Central, because we change, not them. But yeah, it can definitely be done.
And I think COVID really made organizations realize you don't need to go to the office. People can work from anywhere. The company that I work for, there were people, they're in Florida. They're still working.
Wow.
They're doing their day, but at 5 o'clock, I see them on the beach, right? They take pictures and they're showing us they're on the beach having a good time. So maybe for the lady who was asking about her 2 daughters, maybe they could work for Fiverr. They could be a freelancer doing tons of great work anywhere on the planet, or in the location of their choice where they want to hobnob and have a nice, exciting life. The world is really your oyster.
It takes planning. So like my travel is planned for the year. So it's not like I woke up.
Okay, so you plan it, you do it for the year. So, I really like that advice. And I think it's important. There is freedom in working for yourself, but you still have to have a plan. Both of you are saying that individually, you need to have a plan. So Renita, for your daughters, I think it's great for them to be able to have a plan and to put it on paper to see how realistic it is. Within 5 months, are you reaching that first goal? Within 6 months, if you're not, you may have to adjust it. And I think she just commented that one is fluent in Spanish. The first thing came to my mind is, hello, you could be a teacher teaching English to a Spanish speaking person, or Spanish to an English speaking person. That is money in the bank. You can work for an embassy, I'm sure, right? And do that virtually. So that is phenomenal to be bilingual, definitely in this day and age. You mentioned something, Beverly, about COVID, and I wanted to speak about this as well. I do believe COVID did a lot of things. We lost a lot of important people, loved ones, to this devastating virus. But the other thing that came out of it, as you briefly mentioned, was companies realizing I may not have to have all of my people actually in the building, but it also meant the people that were working from home, they weren't spending gas, they weren't going away to lunch, and now they've got this stockpile of money because they haven't had to use it. They haven't had to spend it. What should those people do? What advice do you have for them?
So one thing that we're thinking about is we're calling it revenge travel. Everybody's using that word right now. People are like, I got to get out. I'm tired of being within these 4 walls. I need to get out and do something fun. People are starting to travel again. I think for those who could have saved money, very fortunate to be able to do so, this is a perfect opportunity to pay down any debt that you have, especially high interest debt. The average debt now on an American credit card is 19.9%. For me, that blows my mind because that money is going out the door. You do not get to see that cash. You're paying the credit card company. So debt, super cute. Get rid of that. Bye-bye. Any other things that you're looking to do? Was there something big that you need to fix on the house? What a perfect opportunity. But that's a little bit of a catch-22. So I'm not sure if you've gone to your local hardware store. The price of wood has gone up tremendously. So people were at home last summer and they wanted to fix their roof, do an addition, put on a deck. The price of wood per square foot went up dramatically. So that was kind of a bad thing that happened. Another bad thing with COVID. But if you have this savings, now is the time to really sit down and say, okay, this has been great. How do I use that money, leverage that money for my benefit? Because this was an opportunity in this terrible COVID pandemic. There were some opportunities that have come out from that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who made a lot of money because many people who aren't money savvy panicked with what was happening in the world. Other people who are investors and understanding money saw that as opportunities to buy things at a lower cost. And now that they've gone up, they've made millions for some of them and some, billions. So it's really, really interesting, the understanding of money and supply and demand and those things and when to buy and when to sell. Morgan, since you are a publisher, an author, and a coach, COVID has hit your clients as well. How do you work with people that come to you wanting to perhaps needing your assistance, but right now they really can't move? They don't have the resources at this point.
Yes, so I actually have an upcoming challenge on May 16th. So I always do these free writing challenges, and I think I'm gonna start calling them workshops because they work, okay? And it's absolutely free, and I help them to get through what's their message, their target audience, what do you want to talk about, just their outlining and brainstorming, so they can start working right now. So you might can't work with me right now, but that doesn't mean you can't write right now. And a lot of the people that I help, they do a lot of, if it's for their business, it's like their personal story, around their brand, but a lot of memoirs. So it's an emotional thing too, which is really good to come to this challenge, absolutely free, to start the process, because it can be triggering emotionally and you got to pace yourself. So even if you're this amazing writer, you can think of something, just like you see a picture like, oh my God, I remember when I was a 2. And it takes you somewhere, Same thing with writing. So that's, people want to come to me and I can't work with you now. What can I do? Always get them to start writing. Because a lot of times, if you have the outline, you kind of have the guide. And so before I can really help you, we need that to get started. So that's
what when people come to you, you mentioned a couple of things, but what are they asking you? What do they want to do? Do they want to be authors, or do they just want to put out a story or do a little book like I mentioned to you before we went live?
So there's 2. So
okay,
there's one group, they want to be an author.
Okay.
They got a story, they want to get it out. Some have businesses, but some just, I got to get this story out. People need to know about it to help other people, right? So they don't make the same mistakes. But then, surprisingly, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know until it starts happening. There's people who are more senior and they just want their story down. They just want their story written so that their family can have it, so that it can get out. Because think about all of those people. My grandmother is 85. How muted she was younger. Think about not getting a checking account until like 70s. Like people have things they want to say that it will probably just wrote off as never being able to say. And now they're like, I just want to say that to get it out.
Wow.
So, yeah. And because we take a lot for granted. Like when I found out how late my grandmother got a checking account, blew my mind. But because we take for granted anyone can get a checking account, you can open one up for your kid. So that's why I was like, literary therapy is so important. It's heavily tied not only to finances, it's tied to your romantic relationships. I mean, just how you feel about yourself and that voice. the buzzword being authentic, nothing about the ego, but just like genuinely, how do I feel? And for myself in particular, I was what people needed from me. So I was my service. I wasn't a Morgan. I was whatever you needed from me. So I had to figure out what is Morgan. And then I decided I can become whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And the sky was the limit. So yeah, those are the two main groups.
So when people come to you, Morgan, especially for the coaching, is that the first thing you ask them? What do you want? What are you looking for?
Yes. So when it comes to the coaching, I do writing coaching. So I'll do the writing coaching with them, and it's just therapeutic in nature. So I do spiritual life coaching as well, but that's separate. I have this movement called the NOBB life. It's called the Knob life, the No One's Bottom, BITCH life.
Oh, okay.
That's when you just decide, look, I'm going to discontinue supporting people who don't support me. So that's separate. But what I realized with both of them is a lack of like really using your voice. So when I'm coaching people with writing, it's often therapeutic, and we discover things together. It gets emotional, but we get it out. And the thing with the money, we don't just want you to get money. We want you to maintain your money, protect your money, and grow your money.
Yes.
You have to work on yourself for that to happen. I don't want to just pass down money to the children. It's going to be gone because they don't have the emotional capacity and the mental understanding of the money. And that's what's in the book. My book, The Merge. That's what that woman did. She started from scratch and built wealth in one generation. And that's why I wrote it, because I didn't see it. So
now you have a series of books called The Merge. I think it's 1, 2, 3, right? Can you give us the names of all your books?
Yes. So the first one is The Merge, Love Yourself to Freedom. And hint starts with you, right? The second one is The Merge, to be the dream. No, The Merge, Dream Yourself to Love. That's what it is.
Dream yourself to love.
Yes, because it sounds just romantic, but everybody got a love that they put down. Like, oh, I can't sing, I'm too old, or I can't skate, I can't do this, or I can't have a baby, or whatever your love is. So the merge two is dream yourself to love. After you start healing yourself, now I want you to start imagining what is it that you want. Pick that dream back up, right? And then we have the merge three, free yourself to be. When I release myself to just be, like whatever I am and all my fury, you're going to take it. That's when people first start getting their voice, they kind of be snappy because they learn how to use it. It's like a dog. You have seen a puppy first get a bark, and it scares them.
Right, at first, yeah.
That's how we are too. So we got to learn how to use it. So I freed myself to be. And book 4, that's the last one in this series. It's called Be the Dream. It's like you done made it, you got your dream, and how to work your way through it. Because I want people to know we don't end life like the Disney movies at the wedding. Okay? Life has the ebbs and flows. That does not mean you're not doing right. It does not mean you're not on the right path. It's the season. And so we got to work through it while we have our dream.
Amen.
Think about what your focus is with, getting women to be smart with their money and build generational wealth. And Morgan, when I think about you, one of the things, social media is such a huge, enormous powerhouse. It could make a person feel strong, weak, afraid, and make decisions that are not necessarily the best. How do you combat that, Beverly, when you're talking to people about money matters and building generational wealth?
I love that. So here's one I find really interesting about social media. You go online, there's nothing ever bad, right? Everybody's living their best life.
Yes.
They're beautiful. Their hair is on point. Everything is perfect. You don't see the struggle. And the struggle is where the message lies. It's in that struggle where we could learn more than seeing you driving, a big fancy car. So I love social media to have that quick hit of information. That's why Instagram is so good. That's why TikTok is amazing. There are great content creators out there that are showing how you could do things, how you can learn things. I've learned to do some baking on TikTok. I've learned to fix my PC on TikTok. So, but there are great content. So I think it's I like to put things out that are informative, educational, and I love quotes. Anything I could share a quote that makes you think and say, I could use that this morning in my day. I think that's what's really impactful and powerful. But I also see it as a way to get ideas. Doesn't mean that's the best way for you. Just start talking and looking and getting information and then ingest it in a way that's going to be best for you in your life.
Beverly, what advice would you give just starting building generational wealth? Because I'm the person who believes in owning the dirt. How do you start the conversation?
For me, I think it's expressing to kids where we've been as a people,
Mm,
where we are going, and why the house that you live in, regardless if you own it or you rent it, is an important step. Going back and saying, now I own the house that I have, you now are starting up here where parents and grandparents started below. You're now at an advantage. You're starting at a higher level, and that higher level now, it's up to you to continue that trajectory. So having that base of money in the bank, nobody could, do something bad to me. I could leave a bad job. I could leave a bad relationship. I could leave a bad any situation. That is key. Then we build. So, where am I going? Where do I want to live? What do I want to do? What impact do I want to have? That is, for me, the best thing to start asking those questions because everybody's answers are so different. Like the
yes,
lady who was on before, her kids want to travel. If that's where they want to be, that's a path they're going to take. Maybe somebody just wants to get out of a rental and own. I heard somebody say yesterday they want to own a house that's not on wheels. They really want to have a nice small apartment, a small condo, and that's her goal. So really it's about figuring out what's next, but having that conversation with the younger people. This is how much things cost. Don't shelter it. And so
that's
many people shelter,
that's
you
right.
know, maybe not how much mom and dad makes, that's maybe not,
Sure,
that's a bit too deep, but
sure.
how much does it cost for the internet connection, your cell phone, the heat, the air conditioning, the house, the car, and what that means to our budget, our spending plan, and how do we get above this? How do we get ahead of this? Through education, through taking the time to read, to figure out where you're going, to save, invest, and then keep on investing. But at the same time, the one thing I always am pressing towards people, if you want to have a coffee, go have a coffee. If you want to buy a top or a pair of shoes because you want to feel good, please do that. It's not always about saving, and I'm all about money. Everybody who knows me knows that. But
Yes.
it's not about saving money. It's you have to live and enjoy along the way as well. And that's really important.
Gina has something here, which is at the heart of really what our people have been going through. And I'm starting to see over the last couple of years, the dialogue of people having it. Gina says, Salas says the younger generation needs to recognize the power in keeping family properties. And there's so much wealth. I mean, here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, there's so many stories. I can't even go through them of people who loved one passed away, elderly aunt, grandmother, or mother, left in the home, and the kids instantly sold it well below what the value was because either one, they were thinking of fast money, or two, truly didn't even understand what they had at their in their hands.
Yes. And I think that's a bigger conversation. Property management is not something you do like this, right?
Yes,
They need
right.
to look at what's happening around in the city. You see the news,
Yes,
everything is up. Kids now are having a harder time, kids, people in their 20s and 30s are having a harder time to buy their first property because an average price in the US, I think was $690,000 for like a single, very normal sized home. How are you supposed to save for that 20% down payment? So if you're gifted this home that grandmom had and passed away and left that to you, it is easy to say, oh, I don't need this. I'm just going to take the money. But just to take a moment, speak with somebody from a bank, from a mortgage lender, the family, and talk about, guys, what are we doing here? Is this an opportunity that fell into our lap? How do we honor our grandmother? Always number one, the person who passed away and gifted that to us. You got to honor that gift. And two, let's make a really educated decision about how we want to move forward.
It always seems like there's one person who's like, I don't care, I want my money right now. And that one person can make the whole house tumble down. No, I'm not literally, but the whole clan. If you have 4 or 5 brothers and you have or sisters or a mixture, and one of them needs money, they're thinking of here and now. And when these people are offering money for these homes, they've already done the background check. They know that you were 50,000 in the hole, and they give you just enough to get you out. And then they go and sell the house for almost 2-3 times what you were. I mean, actually 100 times for some of them, more than what they actually sold the homes. And it's really sad to know, because owning the dirt of the business that you're in, owning the house that you live in, owning where you are, the actual property itself, it speaks volumes. And, I think I've talked about this before. When we had the stock, when the market crashed the way it did, I found out that plenty of people that were in homes in the district were renting them. They had been renting them for 20 years, paying someone else's mortgage.
And when it comes to owning your own, so if Ntfs, our clients, they have 100% of their rights and 100% of their royalties.
Now explain that, Morgan, because I know what it means. I need you to clarify that for those who do not understand that.
A lot of people who write books, a lot of authors, they get credit for the book, but they do not own their book 100% flat out. All right. And for most people, maybe it's 20%, or 30% or 15%. It depends on who you're going with, and that's what they own. Right. And so that means there's a problem for your royalties too, because that's the percentage you are getting. Right. So this means you don't control your printing. You don't control the cost of what you're charging for your book. So what if somebody thinks this is amazing? They want to turn into the movie, but you don't have control. There's people right now who've written a book who are not getting paid for the audio version because their contract did not include audio. So the publisher can make money. Look, you're listening to audio books right now where authors are not getting paid. So ownership is so important. And that's why I always want people to I own my house, but you own all your books, own your words. And when it comes to time, because I do want to have children, a trust and a charter. So they're going to do what I say with this house. So they don't have to figure out what they're going to do with it.
That's really
important. That happened to it, and that can help with I'm going to make a family bank. I got my life insurance policy. All this money is going to go into one estate, and you want to access it, treat it like a bank. You got to fill out this form. You got to do the things that, just like if you went to a bank, they won't just give you money. That's so just because grandma left you some money don't mean you get to spend it. Like you about to go get a fur at my funeral. No. Right. If you want to go get education, I even would have something for finding yourself or identifying yourself or a gap year. So it's not just rigid, because I want my daughters to come into their femininity and, and I want my sons to be able to really explore the things that they're good at and that they want to do. But I am going to give them a charter with a lawyer who is in estate planning. So I use the right language, because language matters.
Beverly, how can others help with the financial plan? How can we enlist others to help a person who really wants to get their finances together?
So I always start at home, mom and dad. If mom and dad does not know, then I'd like you to go to your bank. Talk to anybody at the bank. Ask to make an appointment. It's free. Maybe it'll take an hour of your time. Go and sit down with a bank person and ask them, what can I put $500? How do I start investing? How do I start a fund for my child to go to school? Start having conversations. And one thing that women typically do not do is women don't talk about money. It has always been spoken about, well documented. Men talk about it all the time. Women don't share how much money they make a year. Women don't share where they invest their money. And women don't talk about money in general. I have a group of 4 friends. That is what we talk about. We get together, over tax time, which was a couple of weeks ago. And we sat down and said, hey, where are you putting your money this year? How much did you pay in taxes? What's your annual tax rate? We have these conversations because you learn from one another. Every experience is always different, but isn't it interesting to hear somebody else's lens? Hear somebody else's point of view. They're seeing it through a different lens, but you can now think, maybe I should look at that. The more conversations we have with ourselves about, maybe I need to do something, allows us to explore more and get a broader view of our money. So start at home. If mom and dad don't know, go to a bank. And you know something? Bring them to the bank with you if they don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody can learn something. And I think another thing that's really interesting is people get embarrassed because they don't know something.
Yeah.
And that's something we need to stop. We need to stop beating ourselves and saying, I don't know that, so I'm not going to do anything. Let's have a conversation and say, I don't know. It's okay not to know, and ask for help. And Black women especially need to say, I don't know that answer. Let me go figure that out.
Now, I've got a couple of questions. Gina wanted to know, can you address the separation of business and personal finances? And then I have a couple more questions that people have asked me to direct to you, Beverly.
Okay. So you want me to answer that first question from the lady?
Yes.
I always say separate. In the US and Canada, they're completely different. In the US, you could do an LLC. In Canada, it's just a different corporation that you would have to start. I like it separate for two things. One, when you take money out of a business and you write yourself a check, you pay yourself, that money is a dividend. It's not taxed at the same rate as if the money came directly to you. So that's one thing. And two, because it's separate, it may have its own identification number, like a business number, a business incorporation number. It has its own taxes. It's its own person. So you're separate by yourself. If something bad happened to this organization, they don't come after you to pay for that. So I like keeping things apart.
Really important. There was another question wanting to know your beliefs about cryptocurrency.
So I'm going to say what I just said. I don't know a lot about it. I understand what they are. I understand the blockchain because that's a technology which I'm into. How do I get the money out?
Right.
Where do I store this money? How many can I have? Where? Imagine one day I can't get a Bitcoin. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I'm really intrigued by it. And I'm really learning more. So I actually wrote a post on Instagram this week about NTFs.
Yes.
This is a non-fungible token, which is people are putting on these amazing artwork and people are buying them for thousands and sometimes millions of dollars. But how does it gain its value? I'm intrigued. I don't have the answer. So I would say, do not buy something you don't know. Please don't go and bet the farm on this. If you want to try it, take a little portion and experiment and see how you feel about it. Because the one thing we do know about cryptocurrency, it's not governed. It's not traded on like the NASDAQ. So it's not like today, the market opens and closes, and then you hit the weekend, it's off. Bitcoin trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you may get up tomorrow morning and overnight it went down 40%. So if you could handle and stomach that loss in case it goes down, then take a little bit and start.
I was always told, don't ever invest something that you can't risk losing. So I'm a very cautious person when it comes to that. You have some advice for people nearing or planning for retirement.
Yes. So retirement. So right now it's a crazy time. I think as we start learning, we learn in our 20s, we earn in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and then we try to like spend more as we get older, right? So you need to figure out where you are now. Do you have enough to live when you retire? And one rule of thumb that I like to use is it's called buy 25. So let's say you want to live on $50,000 a year when you are in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even if you're a centenarian. You take that number and you multiply it by 25, and that is how much money you need to have saved in order to retire. So that means if you retire at 65 and you have 25 years of money saved, that is how long you could live on $50,000 each and every year. So as we get closer to retirement, we got to really start thinking about, okay, where's the money that I have today? Is it in something that's very risky? if I lose that money, can I make it up between now and when I need to retire? You understand what I mean? Like if we have something, a lot of your money is in something that's risky, and let's say it's all in Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes down, that could be a problem because you cannot make up the time when you're retired to live off that money. So start looking at what you have, carve out portions of it so that you could safeguard it for your future. And if you still have a little bit of high risk, I would just try to keep that as small as possible, especially if you're 55 and 60. If you're 25, 30, 40, that's the time to push a bit more because you have time to make up for any losses that you may have.
Beverly, I've got a question. People are saying, what is NTFs? Would you define that?
Yes, so it's a non-fungible token. So something that is fungible can be converted and traded. This, a non-fungible token, is something that cannot be traded just like that. So if I have a playing card of Jesse Owens and I give it to you, I've given you my right. So it's gone. You now have that card. But on the internet, I can't just give it to you. It needs to be in a database, which is the blockchain. And then that's how it gets transferred from one person to another person. It's very complicated. It is. Like I said, I'm just really getting into it though.
Wow. That is very, very interesting. Now, I know debt is a major issue and we have a few minutes on this. I need you to give us 5 things or 4 things that people should do to cut down their debt. I mean, that they can do today, start today, at least to look at.
So 1, look and see how much debt you have. So let's say you have a lot of credit card debt. I want you to take stock of what you have, write it down on a piece of paper. And then I want you to also write down the card, the amount, the interest rate. And then I'd like you to order them from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate, and then start nipping them off one by one by one. So let's say you have 5,000 on 3 different cards, and the first interest rate is 19%, then like 15% and 9%. I want you to take a lot of the money you're spending on paying things back and put it on the first card and pay the minimum on the second and the third card. Okay. Once that first card is paid off, you take that same money that you had on number 1, put it on number 2, pay that one off while you're paying the minimum on the third card, and then do the same thing on the last card. That's called the Avalanche Method. The other way is you pay the smallest interest rate first and go down. I just feel that's more of an emotional one if you do it smaller interest rate because you feel good. Okay, I got it. I nipped off one. I can go to the next one. And the other one, you're really hitting that high paying interest one first. So that would be my second big thing. So really look at what you have and then align your debt by highest to lowest.
So would you take a second or two to talk about the fact that people aren't retiring at 65? And I believe that you can get your retirement Social Security at 62 and a half. They're not retiring it anymore, but they're still working later in life.
Exactly. So it's all a personal choice. If you feel like I don't see myself retiring at 65, like what am I going to be doing? Like golfing? Yes.
I got to do something.
Okay, but like I have a lot of life to give. I have a lot to do. So maybe you feel you're fit, you're healthy, God willing, and you have everything about you. Like your mind is good. You're still walking and chatting and doing your thing. Maybe you just extend that. That is a conversation you need to have with your financial advisor or your accountant to really have those conversations about when is best for you because everybody's different.
Beverly, Bacon and Heels, how can people get more information? And then isn't there something that you offer, like a checklist when they can download it? Okay, so where can they get more information? So
you can go to baconandheels.com and you can subscribe. And once you subscribe, I'll be able to send you a couple of things. One is your net worth calculator. So you can start checking out where you are, your net worth. I'm going to send you a bunch of different debt crushers. So it's an automatic sheet that you could type in, hey, I got 20,000 on debt. But then, and I was going to help you really help you to cut that debt down. So you can check that out. And I'm on Instagram at bacon_and_heels.
And Beverly, I was just asked before I jumped to Morgan, do you want to say anything in your native tongue of French? And they're like, she has to say something in French for us. So
What would you say? Bonsoir tout le monde. Merci beaucoup.
wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so Morgan, listen, people who are interested in writing their story, being an author, they should come to you. How do they get more information?
Yes, they can head over to mullenpress.com. I have a free 80-page writing planner. So you can start working, download it today, start working today to get your story together, help you get your outline, and they can join the free writing challenge. It's a workshop, it's work. It's free and it helps you get started to get your story out and get your voice and the authentic you going. And we help you to align your personal, brand story with your business brand.
Now, Morgan, sometimes people write kind of like they talk and they go off on tangents. How do you help someone who just, you got to narrow it. You got to stay focused. How do you help them?
That's why you have to do an outline. I do outlines even with fictional books. So when you do an outline, it keeps you on target. And you do all your tangents and stuff in the brainstorming phase. You just go all over the place and brainstorm. Whatever happens, you just put it out. And then from there, we connect the dots and we see, what are you really trying to say? And so then we pull that into an outline. Because you're right, when you free write, it's good for journaling, but it's easier to go off on tangents when you're writing a book. Mm-hmm. And so you'll be writing a business book and you talking about something else, like how to get great shoes. And you're like, okay, that went left fast. So because we can take a little bit and carry on. So yes, that's why the outline is so important. That's why the planner is so important.
Morgan, so tell us what the structure of an outline would be.
Okay, boom. So this is what you need. You need to know who you're talking to for one, from the beginning, because marketing is all throughout. The language you use is going to be determined by who you're talking to. So who are you talking to? What's your message? Right? Those are the important things to help guide you. Like people say, what's your big why? What do you want people to get from this? And then when you start with your outline, you start brainstorming everything you know on that topic. And now you have to structure it. What's alike? You can look at your brainstorm and see, oh, I keep talking about these items. And now I want you to put them in a row. It don't have to be the right order right now. Just put them in a row. And when you get each topic, I want you to give it 3 key points. And this is how you start building out your outline. And after you get that done, we can get with the key titles and stuff like that. But whenever I do a book and it's nonfiction, I like to tell people, have a structure for each chapter and repeat the structure. Think about if it's 10 chapters, 10 papers. Just like when you were in school, you had the introduction, you had the body, and you had the summary. So that's how you tackle each one. So don't think about, oh, I got to write a 100-page book. No, you don't. You got to write a 10-page paper 10 times. 10 times. So you break it down into chunks. And emotionally, like Ms. Beverly said, you feel good. I did a paper today. You didn't finish a book, but you did a paper. And then you do a paper again. And then you do a paper again. And so you're feeling good along the way instead of that delayed satisfaction at the end when you publish. I celebrate every W. No W too small.
Well, Morgan, as we close out, what advice could you give to women out there trying to find their place in the world and writing it down and sharing it with the world?
Just to start writing, being honest with themselves. And it doesn't have to be writing. Writing and publishing is separate. Write for just you. In your journal, by yourself, being honest. Whatever comes to your mind, putting it down. And observing. It's not you. You're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings. You are the observer who is witnessing it. So to detach yourself from it, we have a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of embarrassment. And that's what keeps us from getting right with our money, keeps us from writing. So I do believe in that journaling, freehand, and I detach myself. Whenever I get too overwhelmed, I step back. Like a maze, when you're in it, you can't see the outcome. You can't see how to get out. But when you pull it up to the aerial view, now everything becomes clear. So I just say stop writing and detach.
Beverly, any words as we close out that you would give for those who want to be financially savvy and start building or increasing their generational wealth?
You could start today. You don't need to start with $1 million. If you could put $5 away a week and start, you're on your way. Just start. And you
And
can do it
Beverly,
today.
I know this is not, we have like a little over a minute, or less than a minute, but Beverly, I think it's important for you to define really quickly the importance of compound interest and how it can make a little bit of money become a lot of money over time.
Exactly. Time is, like I said, compound interest is like the seventh wonder of the world. So you have $100 in the bank or in an investment, and every month you get 3%. Every month that money compounds. So now it's $103. Then it's $112. Then it keeps on compounding. The money is working for you. So when you're in bed sleeping, that money is working because that investment is working. You don't leave that money in the bank. You put the money to work.
I love
Really
it. I love it,
compound
ladies. We just got to bring you guys back on because we can always talk about money matters. And maybe next time we'll bring you on and we can talk about some other things about investing and really going through some of the steps that you've gone through, Beverly, and you show the people that come to Bacon and Heels and get the information. Beverly Wilkes, Bacon and Heels, Morgan Holland of Mullen Press. Ladies, thank you so much. Women making money moves. This is just the beginning. I know we're in 2022, but we still have time to turn things around. It takes time, it takes dedication, and it takes us connecting and speaking with one another. So, ladies, thank you so very much for joining me tonight for tonight's edition of Black Press at USA and NNPA's FIRE program.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Until next week, everyone. God bless and goodbye.
Bye.